Welcome to update 0.47 of Obscurity Unknown Threat. This is the update that accompanies playtest number 30 that will be going live on March 1st. To start off, we have a new loading screen. This was mostly for the pulsing dots, just to let players know that it's still loading, and if it's pulling up a new server, there'll be a warning message there to let you know it's going to take a little bit longer. So we've finally added weapon equivalent sets. This lets us set up groups of weapons together that are similar prices and weights, allowing players to hot swap between weapons mid-match. Just giving a bit more variety rather than being stuck to the one weapon and having to log out and edit your class from the main menu. This also allows you to level up guns a lot quicker now that the weapon leveling is in. Now that weapon leveling has been enabled, we've updated the end around progression screen just to show off any attachments you unlock as you're playing during the match. And also, the class ranks will now level up further than level 4. So we've added the basic bots back to the gun range just to allow players to stuff around with them. They're not the smartest bots. We've done a few updates to them. They now change colour based on whether they've detected you, or whether they're just walking around passively, and whether they're trying to attack you. They also don't float anymore when they die. So we spent a bit of time polishing up the mantling system. The blends are a lot better when players are grabbing on ledges and pulling themselves up, especially between the weight classes. The heavier weights, the blends looked pretty bad, so we've improved that a fair bit. This also includes window mantling and other player interactions like switching between weapons, healing. Everything should just look a lot smoother and less flicks and incorrect blends. Improving the blood pooling system for the blood decals was another major thing we wanted to get in this update. The amount of blood decals available is now around 40 plus, I believe. And rather than there just being, say, 10 decals to choose from that gradually pile up into one pool, the damage type actually factors into what gets painted on the ground now. The damage amount determines the density of the paint, and so as the decals pile on top of each other, they'll start pooling bigger puddles. The actual pooling and fading and growing has also improved a large amount. We also reworked the blood shader just to improve its looks. You might see it ripple a bit up from certain angles and such. This should provide a lot more variety and also look a lot better visually when pools of blood are forming around characters' limbs. During the previous playtest, we did a lot of hotfixes. Two pretty significant changes there were the wound painting on soldiers. There's a lot of inconsistency, especially around the butt and stomach areas. It wouldn't always paint, so we fixed that up, and now the painting and bullets and damage is pretty consistent across the whole body. We also added explosive overlays, so when the player takes explosive damage, it does a little bit of a blood overlay on the area of the body that took damage. This will stack the more damage that they take. So the knife, slash and stab sounds no longer use the same sound effect as the bullet impacts. This is to just improve the sounds overall and allow players to identify the type of damage other players are receiving nearby. We also did a bit of work on the fire spreading and smoke node system we use to generate smoke clouds consistently across players' screens. Some of them weren't billowing out as big as they should have been because they couldn't find the gaps properly. So now smoke and fire and also the gas grenades should actually spread around the environment a lot better and more consistently. So players might have noticed we don't have dynamic lights on it, flashlights or torches. This was for performance issues. So we've come up with a solution where we've got a directional indicator that will show whenever a player is within range of another person's flashlight. This has improved the night gameplay a fair bit. It allows players to hide in shadows properly and know whether they're being spotted or not. The torch indicators can be toggled on and off within the UI settings and options menu if people don't want to use them. This next change is a pretty large one. We've added the ability for players to pick up wounded characters of a lower weight class than your character and then throw them around. This lets you pick up characters and throw them over ledges. You can also throw characters into each other, knock other players down. This is also going to have a big impact on the Obscurity gameplay. Obscurity can pick up characters that are wounded or from behind, or if they're tanked they can just pick them up and launch them pretty far. Human characters will move a lot slower whenever they're carrying someone, but it does protect them from bullets and incoming fire. And if you can close the gap, just throw the person into the other person, knock them down. As for Obscurity, you can combine it with a lot of the fire modes and stances for some interesting gameplay. Carrying the bodies around in inversion stance and then throwing them at the enemies is pretty fun. We've also reworked the Obscurity Cloak shader, so now it should work consistently across all graphics modes and a lot better and clearer. There were some issues with low graphics where the distortion effect that it previously had is not visible depending on the resolution and the res scale. So similar to the torch indicator, we've added a tracking indicator to the Obscurity. So now when you use taunts, instead of seeing the little orange smoke puffs, you now get the indicator pointing in the general direction of the soldiers. It's a bit less accurate, which allows soldiers to actually hide better in the environment. We've also removed bloodlust for this reason, as taunts can be used fairly often already. It was kind of redundant. So this playtest we've added a new stance called Ambush. This is mostly to test some new features we might be bringing in the future in regards to stamina and how quickly you're attacking the soldiers. So we want to encourage sneaking up to them and making the first hit count. So if you miss your hit and start spamming, you'll be doing less and less damage. To counter this reduction in damage, that stance currently takes half damage when shot and hit by the soldiers, so it should hopefully provide some interesting changes that you might see more of in the future. Thanks for checking out Obscurity Unknown Threat. For access to this playtest and future playtests, feel free to visit the Steam store link in the description below. Please also wishlist if you enjoyed the game, as it helps us out a lot.